and things too. So give me some of those too. So it was great.
Yeah,
Always great to talk to others.
yeah. Joe, were you the one who did the recording request? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that I had it. Cool. Rick, do you think you guys are going to get some snow tomorrow?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually saw him putting some salt and brine down today on the county roads. So that kind of surprised me. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. You might get a text from us tomorrow morning. We have a trip to talk to the local Dems to get them prepared for the public hearing, and
Yes.
it's in person, so we're thinking potentially moving it to being online in case the snow is bad,
Oh, for next week.
for tomorrow. So we'll ask you tomorrow morning how it's looking.
Okay, very good. I'll look for that text.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks,
If I
Rick.
don't reply right away, call.
Will do. Will do. Thank you, folks, for joining us. I'm going to give people a couple more minutes here and we'll start at 6:03. Just want to make sure everybody gets home and has the opportunity to tune in when they're ready. Does everybody have their Christmas decorations up? As you can see, I do.
I like it.
Yeah. You do, Rick. I see your Santa in the background. Very nice.
Absolutely.
How about you, Randy?
No, I don't think we're going to decorate much this year because we're headed to Florida for Christmas. So,
Lovely.
yeah.
Rick, you usually head out this time of year too. You go down south.
January.
January. Okay. Yeah, down south, we lose all the good Ohio people. All right, one more minute here, folks, and we'll get started. I so appreciate you guys all being here with us today.
Let's say youngster get home, you know, 6:30.
All righty, folks. Joe, I'm going to transfer host power to you. So if people join as we begin this, you can let them in. All righty, folks, we're gonna get started. Just a reminder, we are recording this. Eventually will be posted on our Solar Supporters website, but for now, if you need a recording, please reach out and I will make that available to you. All righty.
So thank you all for joining. This is going to be, we're going to be talking today about deep canvassing and rural organizing within solar, and then also just kind of how rural organizing differs from regular organizing and how deep canvassing differs from regular canvassing. So first, my name is Joe Baldwin. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Rural Projects Coordinator at Ohio Citizen Action. And then I'm joined by Bella if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Bella Bogin, she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Programs at Ohio Citizen Action, and I oversee our utility scale solar programs. And I know I don't look much like that picture posted there. I'm sorry, friends. So I really appreciate you all coming to our webinar today. Ohio Citizen Action is a nonprofit, nonpartisan grassroots group organization that informs, organizes, and mobilizes people to advocate for public interest across issues and campaigns in person, by phone, and online. Our campaigns connect Ohioans by building a movement to protect democracy, create a sustainable and equitable future. When it comes to utility scale solar, OCA helps rural communities organize around renewable energy projects, building local support groups, training volunteers, and debunking misinformation. For us, organizing in rural Ohio isn't just about solar, it's about farmers' rights, building community, and ensuring that voices aren't silenced. Next slide, please. All right, so my first story is going to be about Knox County. It is also my first win, an OCA's first win on the utility scale solar game. So in late October of 2023, we organized a scoping effort in Knox County, Ohio. We asked residents to rate their support for utility scale project on a scale of 0 to 10. This gave us a clear picture of where the community stood, whether they needed more education, more visibility, or just space to be heard. We also started use this to start building our contact list. Just as importantly, we kept careful notes of everything people shared with us, and this is how we uncovered a misinformation campaign being pushed by the opposition. So how do we organize? We quickly recognized that most folks landed in what we call the mushy middle. So that's people who rated themselves anywhere from 4 to a 6 on the scale. These were folks that didn't feel strongly one way or the other, mostly because they felt like they didn't know enough about the issue to make a decision. We also know that when people make decisions, it's rarely based on facts. It's based on values, emotions, and past experiences. So to combat the misinformation and really reach people, we realized we needed a new tool, and that's when we turned to deep canvassing. For those who may not be familiar, deep canvassing is a structured one-on-one conversation where the goal isn't persuasion in the traditional sense, it's connection. We listen deeply, share personal stories, and invite people to reflect on their own values and experiences. It slows down, builds trust, and create a safe space where people can change their own minds. We learned about this from our friends in Canada at Neighbors United, who successfully used deep canvassing to build support for renewables in communities where there just wasn't any support. And we saw right away how powerful this could be here in Ohio. However, writing a deep canvassing script is incredibly labor intensive. It's very scientific, developed by sociologists at Berkeley and Yale. First, you don't simply draft a script. Instead, you start with what is called a listening script. This evolves daily based on what you're hearing in the field from the conversations from the previous day. By the way, we record every conversation and listen to them all together in our script iteration process. We listen to the audio recording. We listen to how people respond to certain language, what surprised them, what concerns arises, and those insights shape how we rewrite and refine our script every day during that iteration process. It is a deliberate iteration process. We listen, we adjust the script, we go out again, we listen, we revise, we cycle through dozens and dozens of iterations until we felt like we have something that is emotionally honest and effective. Persuasion is also calculated in a scientific way. If you remember the scale that I mentioned earlier, that's where we calculate persuasion. It's a fascinating and deeply scientific process that I don't have time to get into right now, but feel free to stay and talk to me after class. You might be wondering, how effective is deep canvassing anyways? In this campaign, we knocked on 6,249 doors. In one-on-one, in-depth conversations, we've achieved a 40% persuasion rate, meaning 40% of the people we talk to move towards support after the conversation. Deep canvassing is known for creating lasting change. This is a practice rooted in non-judgmental listening, storytelling, and processing emotions. And again, I can go over this all with those who want to have questions more in depth after. So in the meantime of building the script, we paired with Knox for Responsible Solar. That's where we met Kathy Gamble. Kathy had already been in the Knox Solar fight for about 2 years and was exhausted. She told us, when y'all showed up, I was pretty dead. Kathy got involved in this fight because of property rights. She was facing an incredibly infuriating situation where her neighbors, who basically thought that because she was an older lady, he could do whatever he wanted with her property, including, but not limited to, turning her flower bed into his driveway, chopping down her trees, and breaking down her fence. She had to go to court for a year, to find a decent solution that cost her a great deal. Kathy felt hopeless dealing with this situation because it felt like no one was listening or helping her defend her property rights. She's won her court case. She has a restraining order against that neighbor, and she has vowed that from that day on, no one has to ever deal with this situation alone ever again. So when we paired her property rights story and the credibility as a local leader with organizing tools like deep canvassing, visibility, public comment, we saw incredible results. We launched the Knox Solar Supporters Group to create a safe space for advocates to speak freely despite a very vocal opposition. Together with our volunteers and staff, we collected handwritten letters to the township trustees and commissioners, distributed yard signs, ran a volunteer deep canvas program, attended public hearings and meetings, hosted events, and even including a little protest that we had, and submitted OPSB comments, dominating 75% of the docket. Together, we broke OPSB, Ohio Power Siting Board's records, with the highest number of public comments ever submitted up until our next record break, which you'll hear about later, and a hearing so packed that by 11 p.m. they had no choice but to add 2 additional hearing days just to accommodate the folks that signed up on the first day. It has now become standard practice for the Ohio Power Siting Board to book the room that they're booking for that, public hearing for a couple of days, not just one. I think that is a big part of the work that our coalition does. So showing up matters. We built community, broke records, exposed misinformation, uncovered a fake newspaper, and OPSB has approved the project. Woo-hoo! So effective rural engagement hinges on building authentic, trust-based relationship with local communities. While canvassing is one approach, success often stems from empowering local leaders like Kathy, listening, listening attentively to communicate to community concerns and tailoring support to align with local values and needs. Thank you. That was our Knox story. For our second story, I told you about my first win. It's only right that I tell you about my first loss. This is my Logan County story. We've seen experts from across state lines say that they believe that the Open Roads Renewables mistake, that was the developer of this project, mistake was starting their reach out too early. They began their reach out in 2019. That's 5 years before applying to the OPSB. Their efforts included dozens of letters to landowners, multiple open houses, public meetings, press releases, coffee chats, fair engagement, and community events. I don't believe that to be their mistake. The mistake was tailoring their message to the opposition, not supporters, in my opinion. A local influencer slash business owner, who shall remain nameless, turned his late cleanup group into the opposition headquarters. He built a community around issues and used his power to silence others. Even though we dominated the docket again with letters and organized community events, the presence of a local opposition and their spreading of misinformation and downright bullying made other community leaders hesitant to speak out. Richard is one of the farmers who signed up to be part of this agrivoltaics project. He's a cattle farmer. The community immediately made him the target of their outrage. He lost his relationship with his cousins, his friends, business over the opposition's tirade. His son even got into a fight over this at school. Don't worry, he won. But Richard was just one voice. Powerful local figures like local school board presidents stayed silent despite supporting the project privately. Ohio Power Siting Board can't read minds. They need to see the support from local leaders. So I have 3 key takeaway lessons from that first loss. One is beat the opposition to the punch. Don't let them shape the narrative. Early engagement with local leaders is critical. 2, local voices are more powerful than letter counts or technical outreach. Public comment numbers matter, but matter less than the credibility of community leaders who speak out in support. And third, misinformation can paralyze supportive voices. One of the hardest lessons in Logan County was realizing how a small but allowed opposition could silent, supportive community leaders. When someone shows up to every township and commissioner meeting spreading misinformation and outright lies, it creates fear. Leaders won't stand up alone, so they stay quiet. At Ohio Citizen Action, we found that there's a couple of ways to deal with this dynamic, this bullying dynamic, and it's the same way that we deal with bullies. You take away the fear of being alone. So neighbors supporting neighbors is stronger than outside support. Our group job was to bring people together, not just show up as OCA. Local leaders gained confidence when they knew they weren't alone in the room. Speaking of building confidence, we did that through information. We hosted webinars, letter writing parties, testimony prep sessions. We shared clear talking points and ran visibility campaigns to make people feel grounded in their message and secure in speaking out. And lastly, focusing on your supporters, not the bullies. It's easy to get pulled into an argument with opponents, but the message is always crafted to who's already leaning supportive or undecided. That is our true audience. It's sometimes easy to forget that there are real victims of these misinformation campaigns, which is why I put Richard's story into this story. That is who I'm really fighting for. Thank you, Joe. Next slide. So this next story I'm very excited to tell you about because it's our referendum work in Richland County. So a couple months ago, we got a call for help from a grassroots group in Richland County. They were already in motion, but they needed organizational support and structure. We only had 2 weeks to help collect a little over 4,000 petition signatures to get this green energy ballot for 2026 by repealing SB 52 ban. That was passed by the commissioners. So this is the first time in the country that a ban on renewable energies has actually made it to the ballot. This is a phenomenal achievement, but we're not done yet. So that meant an all hands on deck approach, mobilizing volunteers, coordinating messages, and making sure supporters knew exactly how to take action and, of course, hitting the pavement. What we found was volunteers matched our energy. Once they saw how serious we were, they rose to the challenge, and in many ways, they led us. Richland County Citizens for Job Development and Property Rights, that's their name of the group, has become the first group in the country to push an anti-SB 52 style repeal onto the ballot. This is a historic achievement, and it shows us what's possible when grassroots momentum meets the right kind of scaffolding. When you meet rural groups where they are, and give them the tools, encouragement, and urgency, they don't just follow, they lead. Your role is to match their energy, provide structure, and then let them run. So for my fifth and final story, it's going to be about Fairfield County. So in Fairfield County, we launched a rapid response campaign around Eastern Cottontail Project. We mobilized quickly and helped dominate their letter count. That's when we beat our Knox County record. But the real story wasn't the numbers, it was the people. On a cold January evening last year, community members gathered in a church across the street from the Ohio Power Siting Board hearing. It was a space where we could make posters, eat pizza, and encourage one another before walking across the street together to the public hearing. We secured a section by the podium so that supporters would be visible, and we wore bright green t-shirts that said, "We support solar." Because of this was a rapid response campaign, unlike the opposition, our folks weren't part of an organized group. They all came alone, unsure if anyone else in the community stood with them.
No,
That evening changed things. Sitting shoulder to shoulder, they found out that they weren't alone. Laura's story is a great example. She showed up nervous, isolated, but by the end of the night, she was speaking confidently to the judges. Laura has since become a grassroots organizer who fights for the environment. She came alone that night, but she left with so many friends. My lesson from that is in rural communities, it's not all about winning the numbers game. It's about building space where people feel safe, supported, and visible. When you do that, you transform isolated supporters into a community. This is safe spaces. Angela, would you mind putting yourself on mute? Thank you. This is a safe space. This is why safe spaces are so important in our work. So my conclusion is, before Joe gets on their part, is when I look back to Knox, Logan, Richland, Fairfield, what stands out to me and the aren't the wins or the losses. It's the people. It's Kathy who felt ostracized by her community until she found out she wasn't alone. It's the silenced leaders in Logan who needed more support to speak out. Um, or it's the lone farmer Richard who fought with everything he had. It's the Richland volunteers who rose to the occasion. And it's Laura and Fairfield who came alone and left that night as part of a movement. The thought line here is simple but powerful. Rural organizing is about helping people realize they're not alone. Facts matter, numbers matter, but what changes outcomes are the relationships, the safe spaces, and the courage that comes from standing shoulder to shoulder with your neighbor. That's at the heart of the work we do here at Ohio Citizen Action. We deeply believe in rural organizing. We believe rural Ohio needs an all hands on deck approach. And together we can build communities that not only fight for clean energy, but find their voices, their confidence, and their power. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you so much. It's going to be hard to follow Bella up, but I'm here to talk about why rural organizing is a bit different than normal organizing. Um, and by normal, just meaning the traditional sense of people going from door to door in cities, collecting as much signatures as they can in as little amount of time, and why rural organizing might be a little different. And so the first reason is obviously geography and population density. So by going farther distances, I mean, distance equals time. Everything is farther apart by meaning homes, farms, gathering spaces, and door to door takes significantly longer. And so because of this, there are limited community hubs, which means fewer people to catch, um, because there are no dense commercial districts. There are transportation barriers because residents may rely on long drives, making in-person engagement harder. And um, with solar outreach, you need more time, more planning, and more intentional planning and more travel to meet people where they actually are. Additionally, social dynamics and trust are another difference between the two because there are tight-knit relationships within more rural areas, and people know each other, and reputation matters. There comes a stranger skepticism of outside groups like environmental orgs like ours, companies, and the government, and they do face automatic mistrust. And so local validators matter. And so a respected farmer or pastor or community member carries more weight than a national expert. And so when you use this in rural organizing, you need local messengers, repeated contact, and trust building before persuasion. And then next we have a different political context. And so within rural areas, we see higher levels of skepticism of the government and renewable energy policies. And so this also means that there are stronger cultural narratives about independence, property rights, and local control. And there are high influences of county commissioners, town trustees, and local boards. And so for solar outreach, organizing must account for and not dismiss the concerns about freedom, regulation, and outside influence. And so what actually does work in rural organizing is one, deep canvassing, which includes long, non-judgmental conversations, partnering with local validators, showing economic tax benefits and concrete numbers, being physically present in the community, and then listening first and messaging second. And we also see that acknowledging fears instead of dismissing them goes a long way. And so then I also wanted to talk today about one of the rural areas we're in right now. That is Morrow County. And so, sorry, getting my notes. Crossroads, as you may know, is a proposed dual use solar energy and land production facility located in Westfield, Lincoln, and Cardington Townships in Morrow County, and the project will have the ability to generate up to 94 megawatts of power and will occupy up to 611 acres of agricultural land planted with native grasses and other vegetation. and it can be returned to farming after 40 years. And the grass inside the facility will be maintained primarily by grazing sheep. And so local benefits include $846,000 in new annual revenue for Morrow County, including approximately $350 in new revenue for the Cardington-Lincoln Local School District each year. It'll also include over 180 new Ohio-based construction jobs and 2 to 3 operational jobs. And this creates clean, cheap, and local energy. And so improved energy independence is incredibly important, and also the protection of farmland from the permanent loss to real estate development. And so we've been working on this project for the past, I would say, year. And so our goal is to see this project succeed. And so our public hearing for this with OPSB is on December 10th. And so if you are interested in taking action today, I apologies, we'll send a link in the chat of our message below, and this includes an email that you can send to the OPSB with the subject line of Crossroads Solar in the case number. And then we ask you to write a message about why solar energy is important to you and for Ohio. And it's best to use your own words, but I do have a few talking points below. And just make sure that you sign with your address and name. And so the information is all in the chat. And then next I wanted to talk about if you are interested in attending the public hearing, it's on December 10th, and our sign up and more information are in the chat. And so we are planning on arriving by 4:30 to register early and to be among the first to speak, and the doors will open at 5 p.m. And the sign up is in the chat. And then if you want to speak, we are having 3 testimony prep sessions or Wednesday at from 1 to 2, Thursday from 5:30 to 6:30, and Monday from 5 to 8. And the sign up is also in the chat. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining today, and if we have any questions, I wanted to open the floor.
Great job, Joe. Well, we have the president of the Morrow Solar Supporters on the call, Rick. Any words for the public hearing coming up, or your fight in this? I mean, you've been rural organizing alongside us. Anything we may have missed, or?
What is there a meeting? Is anyone going to be here in Cardington this week to work on these letters or this or prep for the hearing? Or are we just going to do it all online?
We've planned to do them all online.
Okay.
Except for our in-person visit tomorrow, which may or may not happen due to the snow. So knock on wood that the snow is.
Well, where are you going to meet at for the in-person visit?
Joe?
We are meeting at the Morrow County Board of Elections, but that is through the Morrow County Democratic Party.
So the Dem ladies have organized an organized brunch, and they've allowed us to come and speak and talk to them about the testimony prep and getting them ready for the public hearing.
What time is that? What time will they be meeting there?
I believe 6. I can send you the information.
Okay, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you make anyone that speaks at the hearing, I have some information I'm going to submit. You guys have been at these hearings before. Is there a place to do that? I put your information in an envelope and deliver it, or does that have to be sent in?
No. So at the public hearing, you have the ability to either say read your testimony to the judges, and then submit. So what I've seen people do is they have like a very long written out statement, and then they have just the statement that they were going to get done in 3 minutes. And at the end, there's a little basket by the podium, and you would drop either a copy of your testimony or something a little longer that you would like the judges to consider.
Anybody that does that, make sure that they have the information that you've already shared as far as the number of the project and the name. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Amazing. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, I have something to share with you maybe tomorrow. I thought I would have it done today, but
No rush, no rush. We're here for you. We're
oh, I
hosting.
know you've been here all along. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, these testimony prep sessions are just like office hours basically, so anybody can hop on at any time, and we'll be there throughout the whole thing. Yeah, leading people. And we might even show videos of former testimonies, like the one that Laura or Kim did. I know both of those ladies showed up to our Morrow Solar Supporters meeting. So
Well, I
they
had a question about Logan County, if I may.
please, yes.
So they had their local hearing, but then you still go back and they had additional information was shared.
Mhm.
What
They
what
act-
happened that you would have thought there would have been enough information to ride the local public
Yeah. Yeah. And
opposition?
there was a lot of like screenshots that were submitted by all kinds of organizations showing bullying that was on like a violence threats level. But the thing is, Open Roads, after the staff report came out that said that there was not enough public interest, they withdrew their application, meaning
Oh,
there was no public hearing. So
okay.
kind of robbed the community of the opportunity to speak out that way. I also understand that for them, it was more of like a financial decision of whether or not to, keep paying their attorneys and all of that. So, I get that there's a corporate element to some of these fights.
Oh,
But
yeah, absolutely. There's a considerable investment made in these projects. And I hate to think that they will, I mean, people that are putting these projects together won't hang around to Ohio. They'll move them to other places. And
yeah,
that will cause us to lose tax revenue and energy, and it's anti-property rights.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree. We've become totally inhospitable to solar developers. I'm not even talking about wind because wind is basically illegal in Ohio now with the
right.
setback laws. Yeah.
You've answered my question. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, great talk. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I have a couple questions on because as you guys talked about so much, your guys' expertise in deep canvassing that I'm interested in. One is because my prior experience in campaigns is you have something like a walking list and you go to places that you know already support you. I
Yeah.
assume you guys might not have that. I guess you'd call it advantage or so on. I'm not sure if you like have bias targeting. I know from some other volunteer efforts that like there exist data broker lists of maybe people who might be more inclined, but not sure about that. So that's the first question. Like, how do you, find and target or so on? Who do you decide who to talk to?
Yeah,
And second would be about that persuasion that you mentioned. Like, yeah, how do you assess that?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is somebody persuaded or not?
So for deep canvassing, we would actually go to areas that are kind of less hospitable because we're trying to create support where there isn't none. In terms of getting lists, we have lists on Van, but with deep canvassing, you really want to hit every single door. It's a volunteer-led effort, so these are just neighbors talking to neighbors. I don't need to know how you voted in the last election because really the persuasion element is as long as you're above a zero, we're going to want to try to talk to you and see if we can persuade you at least into neutrality. But then, of course, we partner with great folks like Randy, who's on the call here, who also provides us with lists and stuff like that. So those are definitely things that we can make available to you as well, David. In terms of persuasion, persuasion is calculated by buckets. So sociologists at Berkeley and Yale have determined that lasting change is created when people move from one bucket to another. So the buckets are 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 10. So those are the buckets. If I at the beginning of the conversation, I say who I am, um, and that I'm here to have an open and honest conversation, and for them to please rate themselves on a scale of 0 to 10 about how they feel about utility scale solar here in their county. They give us a rating, we figure out why, we get, we share stories, we address misinformation, get into that emotional core logic, and at the end we ask them to rate themselves again without any kind of like, ooh, you were a 5 before. Did we move you? No, like just neutrality in asking that question. And that's how we know if they moved or not. And, a 1 to a 3, wow, you got them to move a lot, but it wasn't a bucket move. It stayed within the same bucket. So the scientists at those universities determined that actually no lasting change has occurred. However, if I move a person from a 3 to a 4, I have established change. I have established that I have moved somebody from the opposition into neutrality, and so on and so forth. So that's just one of those things. So there is a calculation of it, but oh yeah, thank you. Linda, who is our new volunteer coordinator, um, and she's going through her deep canvas training right now, so she's really in the weeds of it. But that's how we calculate it on the most basic level.
Thank you.
David, where are you located at?
Geauga County, just
Okay,
east
thank
of
you.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
I've been there. I've been to the fair.
Oh, that's great. Ohio's
Yes,
oldest. Yeah.
yes.
Hey,
David's a great partner.
David, if you want to maybe get some deep canvassing experience, I'm going to be in Geauga County.
Are you really?
Yes,
Okay.
for the next few weeks.
Yeah,
What,
how
yeah,
our
what are you
how our
doing?
script, and Linda's working off of that script that I talked about that took us for, a long research. So that will give you a look into how that all goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be
Sorry
very
for
happy
the
to meet
plug.
up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, I'm with Geauga Solar Supporters. So we had a proposed solar and wind ban. Nothing has happened with it. Hopefully, nothing will. But I'm among a small group of mostly solar homeowners working against it. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
definitely. I put my
sorry,
email in the chat. Reach out to me.
Will do.
We
Yeah,
can
thanks.
set something up.
question. Yeah, so Dean up here in Cleveland. Um, so with this buckets thing, I'm trying to imagine myself being a person that OCA was talking to, and
Yeah.
you tell me, hey, you moved from the first bucket to the second bucket. I'm just trying to understand
Oh,
the value to that person. I'm sorry.
sure, sure. There's no value to them, and we don't even mention it, in fact. The
Oh, okay.
how it really goes is that we open up the script, we find out the scale is important because it allows us to really tease out why that specific number. And because it's a scale, it gives us a little bit more nuance. Then we go into a section where we just build rapport. And we studied like what is it that, like, self-reliance and talking about that. After that, we'll go into a story share. So I'll share a vulnerable story of why economic development or property rights matter to me. And then I'll elicit a story from them, hitting the who, where, when to make sure that they know that we're listening. How did that make you feel? And finally, why? Because and when we find out how they feel, great. We're almost there. Why, the answer to why they felt that way, that's the emotion, the core of their emotional logic, which allows us to do process some dissonance there. So after we know that, we'll address some misinformation, and then Linda will ask them at the end, well, hey, before you said you were a 4 because you didn't like the way they looked. Now that we've spoke for some time, you shared your story of like how you would like more schools to see more school funding, and you shared your story of how that personally affected you living in a rural community or your children. Um, Now that I've addressed that, they will put some like trees and to block the view out a little bit. How do those two things feel to you side by side? You make them, that's the only way to do it, to make themselves change their own mind. You create a non-judgmental, safe space throughout the whole thing, because we know changing our mind is just, it's embarrassing. So so we do that, and then we close it off with making a case for what we're there to do. We then ask them to rate themselves again at the end, which is kind of just like solidifies or secures to themselves that, I do think about this differently. But that's not really the biggest thing. The biggest thing is processing that dissonance there. And then based on where they fall on the scale, we ask them a different level of task to do.
Thank you for spelling that out. That's helpful.
Oh, okay, awesome. You're welcome. Any other questions, folks? We're ready to let you go.
No question. I just want to like commend you all on this. This is as a longtime organizer and somebody who's looked at the deep canvassing before, to see somebody really carrying it out and in a successful way is really my heart's sparkling a little bit here.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. We had to prove that it would work, but now that we have, we get to hire somebody as wonderful as Linda to run these volunteer programs, which is at the heart of what deep canvassing is for. It's for neighbors to talk to neighbors. It's not a paid canvas going out there and, delivering a message, which in rapid iteration is very important as well, but this is really changing hearts and minds work. Yeah. Thank you, Randy. All right, folks, if there's no more, we're ready to let you go. Shoot me a quick email if you'd like a copy of the video. Eventually, it will become available on our Ohio Solar's website and on our YouTube. We took it down for opposition reasons, but we'll be back at it again. So
I'll look for your text or call tomorrow.
Thank you.
you, Rick. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all coming. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mariah, for coming. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you.
Perfect. Well, what'd you think, Linda?
First, sorry, I was